It is April 1st. We are less than a month away from the 2023 NFL Draft, and it felt like a good time to give you an updated mock, especially I just finished doing all of my quarterback scouting reports. I'm working feverishly to watch the running backs so I can start doing some scouting report videos on those guys. Those will be coming up very soon. So I wanted to take the opportunity now to give you an updated mock. It's only a one-round edition this time, but I will put the picks, all 31 of them for round one, in the description box down below. Let's have a talk about this, right? Because we're getting less than a month away. So should start to get a better feel for where guys could be going and how things could be looking. And I'm going to start off with pick number one because that's where the draft starts, right? And I've talked about it before, and I'm going to probably do a separate video about it very soon, is, to me, the Carolina Panthers. There's been talk about them. Hey, if they find like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that they really like, they might trade back from number one. That's really dumb. You don't give all of that up to get into the king spot of number one, to then sit there and think about trading back. That would be the ultimate personification of you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You panicked, took a chance to get in that top spot, and then you're like, I don't really know. So at this moment, I got to think Carolina's picking number one. There's no way they could be that stupid, right? Right? But then it comes down to who are they going to take number one? And that's where it gets interesting. You're going to see a number of mocks that probably have Bryce Young going to them number one overall. You're also, I'm sure, going to see a majority of mocks have CJ Stroud going to them number one overall. And you'll have some, such as I'm putting here this time, having Anthony Richardson from Florida be the quarterback that goes to them number one overall. Here's the way I look at this for Carolina. To me, the choice comes down to one of two picks. It is either CJ Stroud, because you want the best pocket passer in this draft, the safest, most sure thing. CJ Stroud fits more of the physical profile, where Bryce Young, do you really want to take a 5'10 quarterback with limited arm talent? I'm not saying he has a terrible arm, but he doesn't have a great one either. Is that really? No, you don't. You go between the two of them, you're picking CJ Stroud if you have the number one pick. Or you go with the guy with the most physical upside, the most tools, because you're trying to find the generational guy. You're trying to hit the grand slam, and you consider Anthony Richardson over Will Levis. And I think that's what the pick comes down to. It's CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson. And for an organization 12 years ago that took Cam Newton number one overall, who himself was a raw, intriguing, high upside prospect with 1 year of starting experience at Auburn. Granted, he was a more accurate passer coming out of Auburn than Anthony Richardson coming out of Florida, but there are certainly a lot of similarities there. Richardson's arm is even stronger than Cam's was. That's an organization that took a big swing in 2011, and it paid off pretty well for them. And I talk about, if Cam Newton was in this draft, I tweeted this maybe a week and a half ago, and a lot of people say, well, he's either QB1 or QB2. Okay, if you think Anthony Richardson is a Cam Newton type of talent, then he's either QB1 or QB2 in this draft. So to me, those are the choices. And in this case, I'm going with Anthony Richardson for the Panthers, which I'm sure Panthers fans are going to want to strangle me right now, but whatever. But then number 2 for Houston. It's an interesting choice, but if Anthony Richardson goes 1, they got to be bolting up to the podium to take CJ Stroud number 2. To be able to get the most NFL-ready pocket passer from day 1 at number 2, that means that loss in Week 18 didn't hurt them that much in the grand scheme of things because they still were able to get their guy. There's a potential you could have quarterbacks go 1, 2, and 3 here. Maybe somebody tries to jump up in front of Indianapolis to take Bryce Young or Will Levis. Or maybe Indianapolis and Arizona swap spots because Indy wants to lock in the fact that they get their quarterback at 3, and Arizona can still have their choice of whoever at pick 4. But for now, I had Arizona staying at 3 and taking Anderson from Alabama, and then I've got the Colts at 4 taking Bryce Young, which feels like a good fit for both parties. I will tell you, like last time I talked about in my mock, trying to figure out where Jalen Carter is going, and I'm still struggling to figure that out, right? You saw some recent reports about the Raiders took Jalen Carter completely off their draft board at pick 7. There could be other teams that could be taking him off the board, but there are going to be teams that still have him on the board and still have him on the board really high because they're going to be intrigued by that high-level upside. And, you know, I look at picks 5 and pick 6, and I see some combination of Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter is certainly a possibility. In this case, I've got Seattle taking Wilson at number 5, which to me at number 6 is Detroit taking Jalen Carter. Now you're pairing him on that defensive front with Aiden Hutchinson, who you spent the 2nd overall pick on last year. And all of a sudden the upside for that Detroit defense has gotten a lot higher pretty damn quickly, especially if you're able to, you know, continue to build off of the momentum that you got the second half of 2022. As far as being a Bears fan, you know, the thought of Detroit beefing up the defensive line, you know, it makes me feel even more likely that they will be the team to beat in that division in 2023. As far as Will Levis, that would make him the 4th quarterback on the board. There is certainly a chance that one of these 4 quarterbacks drops. And it could be Levis, it could be Richardson, it could be Bryce Young for different reasons. I think the one quarterback you feel safest about he's not going to drop past pick 2 is going to be C.J. Stroud. But there is certainly an amount of variance here for the other guys, right? It is not out of the realm of possibility that one of those 4 guys is not drafted in the top 10. As crazy as that might sound, that could happen. But here I've got the Raiders taking Levis at 7, and you're saying, well, they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, and I say, so what? As injury-prone as he is, plus he would seem to be the perfect type of veteran mentor to a younger quarterback, right? Maybe, in theory. You know, there's certainly an argument to make that maybe the Raiders are higher on Garoppolo being a quarterback for them for the next few years. I think that'd be fucking insane if they did. But it is possible. But I'm thinking the Raiders are going to be tempted to have to take a quarterback there. They're going to have to be. For the Bears, I will tell you, I'm not sure Paris Johnson Jr. is the top offensive tackle in this draft. I'm not sure that he's the best fit for the Bears. I certainly understand and appreciate the upside, and maybe there's a thought there, too, that he has positional versatility. He's played multiple positions along the offensive line in Ohio State. And at least, if nothing else, I would say the Bears are investing in protecting Justin Fields, since they kind of did a half-assed job of addressing that in free agency. You've got to do that here in the draft. You know, it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you say the Bears kind of put themselves into a box. They kind of pigeonholed themselves in having to address offensive line with that 1st-round pick. And if they don't, they're going to look really fucking stupid at that point. So for now, I've got them taking Johnson at 9, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody else. Another player that I've had trouble trying to slot, similar to Jalen Carter, but for different reasons, right? Jalen Carter because of some of the off-the-field questions, character questions. For Bijan Robinson is trying to figure out, where do teams value him and his skills and his talents? Like, for example, if Tennessee traded away Derrick Henry, I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit if they drafted Bijan Robinson, number 11. Unlikely, but humor me. But for Philadelphia, that just lost Miles Sanders to Carolina. You know, if there was going to be a team in the top 10, you know, a contender, championship ready, with a smaller window to contend and win one, you get able in the top 10 to get a guy that can make a big impact from day one. It is really, really hard to me, if you're the Eagles, to pass up automatically on Robinson just because he's a running back. This is one of those picks I could see happening. I still feel it's somewhat unlikely right now, but it is absolutely a pick I could see happening. And if you look at it within the context of where the Eagles are right now, it could absolutely make a world of sense for them. As much as you might think they should draft somebody on the defensive line or the offensive line at that spot, take advantage of that pick. Well, maybe you take advantage by the pick by, you know, getting a big play running back that goes with Jalen Hurts in that offense. That could be, right? For Packer fans, you're sitting there looking at my mock at number 15 and you say, oh, you got him taking Smith-Njigba, finally taking a wide receiver after they traded away Aaron Rodgers. Wouldn't that be the bitch, right? Now is when they would finally draft a wide receiver in round 1. That would sound like the Packers dumpster fire of a front office. But anyways, this is my mock. Feel free to leave your comments on it. Like I said, you got running back scouting reports that will be coming up over the next several days, and I'll be switching over to the wide receivers. Now we're getting into crunch time, so I'm going to have to crank some content out here. So thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll talk to you later.